take up? Let's bring jurors, please. Mr. Waller?
Thank you, Your Honor. May I reapproach?
Yes. We still wait. Oh, I'm sorry. We're waiting on number 4. Thank you. All right. Now we're ready to go. Mr. Waller?
Thank you, Your Honor. May I reapproach?
Yes.
Agent Lowell will pick up the state's exhibit number 224. State's exhibit 224. Can you give us the CCBI number and description there?
It's my item number 52. It's one blue in color faded Glory brand sleeveless tank top size large.
If you will remove that item. Hand you 224A. You can identify 224A.
It's the blue in color faded Glory brand size large tank top.
Same or substantially same condition.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 224 and 224A.
No objection.
It's allowed.
You can hold 224A up for the members of the jury.
And again, just like in the photo that we previously saw, what appears to be the defect is right here.
State's Exhibit 236. You'll identify your item number and the description.
It's my item number 97. It's one gray in color Bettine brand jacket size large with a belt.
And if you'll remove the contents of 236. and the 236A sticker. If you can identify 236A.
It's the gray in color jacket, size large, with a belt.
Same or substantially same condition.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 236 and 236A.
Any objection? Any objection?
Oh, no objection.
It's allowed.
There's the belt. This is the jacket. And what appears to be the possible defect is located here. And where it exits is right here.
And Agent Lauder, that 236A, the jacket, was that the outermost layer of clothing that Miss Taylor appeared to be wearing that night?
Yes, sir.
And that's the one when you closed the jacket around her, all of the defects lined up in terms of the bullet trajectory.
Correct.
Everything packaged away?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Agent Lauder, I believe you said that Agent Snyder was CCBI. She's who brought you the clothing of Mr. Taylor and Mrs. Taylor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when Agent Snyder returned from the medical examiner's office with the clothing, did she bring other items with her as well?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about what else she brought.
There were several other items that she brought. The clothing was located in two bags, one for the female victim and one for the male victim. And then there were also, give me just 1 second.
And when you say two bags, one for Anglia, one for Sylvester, and then you repackaged them in the manner in which we've seen here with the different bags for each item of clothing.
Yes, sir, that's correct. She also brought back a blood card from Sylvester Taylor, a bullet from the chest of Sylvester Taylor, believe that was it.
Did she also bring back,
Oh, and a blood card from Mrs. Taylor.
okay. How many?
Number 101?
Item 101, yes, ma'am. And then also, we have 101 listed as.
A bullet from Anglia Taylor. Anglia Taylor, I'm sorry.
And then your item 57.
57 is one bullet from the right arm of Sylvester Taylor.
And then your item 56.
One bullet from the chest of Sylvester Taylor.
Okay, so you had two
Two.
bullets total from Sylvester.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so one from the chest and one from the arm. All right, we'll start with Sylvester. And you mentioned a blood card. When you say blood card, what is a blood card?
It's a sample of the deceased blood. We use it as a standard for any type of DNA that's going to be needed further.
And I believe I may have pushed your microphone away from you at some point. What is a blood card?
It's a sample of the medical examiner takes it, and it's just a sample of the deceased blood, which could be used later for identification purposes in case there's DNA.
And I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit 242. How is that item identified by your CCBI number and then its description?
It's identified as my Wake County case number, or with the Wake County case number, the CCBI case number, the date, the type of crime that it was, the victims, my name as well as the investigator from the sheriff's department, and it's labeled as one blood card from Sylvester Taylor.
And what item number was that again?
It would be item number 102.
And that's what Agent Snyder also brought back from the ME's office, or medical examiner's office.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to ask you to open State's Exhibit 242, but is there any changes or alterations to that State's Exhibit 242, the bag itself?
There are other initials and markings on the bag.
And do those initials and markings appear to be consistent with other analysts that would have examined this blood card later on?
Yes.
Whether it be at CCBI or SBI?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce 242.
No objection.
It's allowed.
This time we'll go to State's Exhibit number 226 and 227. We'll start with 226. If you can identify the CCBI number and then the descriptor.
It's CCBI case number 56, or item number 56, and it's one bullet from the chest of Sylvester Taylor.
And would that have also been brought back from the medical examiner's office by Agent Snyder?
Yes, sir.
And if you can open the CCBI 56, States 226. Let me hand you a 226A. And if you can put this evidence sticker on 220 on that package and describe what you see there.
It's a clear plastic envelope with evidence tape on it and markings from the medical examiner's office, as well as what appears to be a copper and colored bullet inside of it.
And when you say bullet, that's the projectile that is ejected from the shell case.
Yes, sir.
If I may see 226A. 226A, are there also markings from the medical examiner's office that describe where this bullet was taken from?
Yes, sir.
Where was it taken from?
Chest,
And from whom?
Sylvester Taylor.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce State's Exhibit 226 and 226A.
No objection.
Admitted.
Thank you. If you can repackage that. I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit 227. If you can identify 227.
It's my item number 57. It's one bullet from the right arm of Sylvester Taylor.
And if you can open 227. Hand you 227A, and if you'll place the 227A sticker on that bag and tell us what you see in there.
It's, again, a plastic bag with a copper and color projectile located inside of it, sealed with evidence tape, and various markings from what appears to be the medical examiner's office.
And are there other identifying markings on that packaging that tell you where the bullet came from?
Yes, sir. There's an evidence slip inside, and it says bullet right arm.
And who was it taken from?
Sylvester Taylor.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce 227 and 227A.
No objection.
Allowed.
Repackage it. Okay, we'll go to Ms. Anglia Taylor at this point, and I'm going to hand you 225, and if you can identify State's Exhibit 225 by your CCBI number in the description.
It's my item number 53, and it's one blood card of Anglia Taylor.
And does it appear again to be in the same or substantially same condition,
Yes, sir.
other than markings from other agencies?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 225.
No objection.
Allowed.
And I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit number 241, if you can identify 241.
My item number 101, it's one bullet from Anglia Taylor.
And 101, was it also brought from the medical examiner's office?
Yes, sir.
And if you can open 101 and let us know what the contents of 101 are.
It's another plastic envelope with evidence tape on it, and an evidence slip inside, and various markings from what appear to be the medical examiner's office with a copper and color bullet located inside it.
And I'm going to have you label that as 241A. And is there an indication of where that bullet came from?
No, sir. The evidence just says bullet.
And does it say from whom it was taken?
Anglia Taylor.
Any changes or alterations other than further analyzing by later analysts?
No, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask to introduce 241 and 241A.
No objection.
So loud.
Besides the blood cards, at this point, Agent Louder, were you provided with other identifying information for Anglia Taylor and Sylvester Taylor in terms of fingerprints?
Yes. Agent Snyder collected what we call postmortem prints when she went to the autopsy.
And what are postmortem prints?
She collected basically what's known as a 10 print from the deceased, so fingerprints from all 10 of their fingers.
And I'm going to hand you 210 and 211. And if you'll take a look at 210 and 211.
Um, 210 is item number 34. It's one set of postmortem prints from A. Taylor. And item State's Exhibit 211 is item number 35. It's one set of postmortem prints from S. Taylor.
And if you could open those two contents. And what are the contents of 210?
210 are the postmortems of A. Taylor.
And have you ever taken postmortem prints before, Agent Louder?
Yes, sir.
How are they collected?
Going back to when I talked about how I collected latent evidence, I take the powder, which is typically I just use volcanic ash for postmortems. You take that volcanic ash powder. You can either use a brush or your fingers gloved, and then you take the powder and you place it on the decedent's fingers. And we then take, it's almost like a contact sheet, and you place this on the finger, and you're trying to get from fingertip all the way to here, so you're getting the entire finger. So you do that for all 10 fingers, and you collect them and label them based off of their hand typically.
And let me hand you some different 210A, 210B, and 210C.
Okay.
You just put those on the three different latent cards there. And do those cards appear to be in the same condition as when Agent Snyder brought them to you?
Yes, sir.
I asked to introduce 210 and 210A through C.
No objection.
Allowed.
And if you can, just tell us how those cards are generated.
So after you place that piece of paper that will adhere to the volcanic ash, you lift it just like I talked about, lifting a latent print with a clear tape. Then when we do postmortems, we typically try to separate them by hand. So we'll keep all of the left hand on a piece of paper together, we'll keep all of the right hand, and we also do the palms, which we'll keep together. So for example, using this one, and then we'll label the finger. So she'll start with left thumb, left index, left middle, left ring, and left little. We do that again for the right hand. And then we'll also collect the palm. So we're trying to get as much surface area for the palm as we can. And that would be these that she collected. So it would be like right palm and left palm.
Thank you. If you can put those back in the 210 envelope. And open 211. Is that 211?
Yes, sir.
The contents, I'll just ask you to put 211, A, 211B, and 211C. Into those 10 print cards, they appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when Agent Snyder brought them to.
Yes, sir.
And are they similar to, in the nature, to 210A, B, and C?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I'd ask to introduce 211, 211A through C.
Any objection?
No objection.
Allowed.
Thank you, ma'am. And 210 again was for Anglia Taylor, and 210 and 211 was for Sylvester.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. On 410 of 2014, after you processed the clothing, did you do some other work there in the lab itself?
Yes, sir. I did.
All right. What other work did you do in the lab itself?
At 1900 hours, I was asked to process a suspect vehicle for possible blood.
Okay. And can you describe that vehicle for us, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It was a two-door black and color Chevy Silverado. It had a North Carolina registration of 5N60BP, and the VIN was 1GCDR14K8HF335265.
And how did you go about processing that truck?
First, overall photographs were taken. When you're looking for blood, you first visually examine it to see if you can see any items or areas of specific interest with just your naked eye. In this particular instance, I wasn't able to find any possible blood just through visually examining. So then I used a chemical called Blue Star. It's a chemical which reacts with the iron and hemoglobin. Again, like I talked earlier about presumptive and confirmatory tests, it's considered a presumptive test. Basically, this area is sprayed in a specific area, and if it glows, it'll give off a bluish color, and that is an indication for a positive reaction.
And did you get any positive reactions on when you processed the truck in this manner?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where did you get positive reactions for blood on the truck?
On the interior driver's door, the steering wheel, the driver's seat, the gear shift, as well as the brake and gas pedal.
And how did you collect, did you collect blood swabs for these different areas?
I did, and in all those areas, I collected a swab of the suspected area, and basically I just used a swab in each area, and because the area was already damp, there was no need to moisten the swab with water for the suspected area to adhere to. So the area was just swabbed with a swab.
Okay. May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what is now been marked for identification purposes. The state's exhibits 241, 242, 243, 244, and 245. I'll ask that you take a look at those photographs and tell me if you recognize what those photographs depict.
Yes, sir. They're overall and close-up photographs of the vehicle.
Appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of when you analyze this vehicle down at CCBI on April 10th of 2014.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask to introduce States Exhibits 241 through 245 for illustrative purposes.
And if allowed,
And permission to publish using the screen.
yes.
What do you see there, ma'am?
Can I stand up?
Yes, please.
This is just an overall photograph of the truck once it was placed in our facility at CCBI.
And for, that was 241. This is States 242. What do you see there?
This is the items that were inside the truck bed.
Did you collect any items of evidence out of the back of that truck bed?
No, sir.
You just kind of documented the nature of the bed of the truck there at the scene.
Yes, sir.
And then what does this appear to be? This is 243.
This would be the passenger side of the vehicle, so it's just a photograph looking into the passenger side of the vehicle.
244. What do you see there?
I'm standing on the exterior of the driver's side, so just a photograph from the driver's side of the vehicle.
There appears to be a wrapper in the middle of the seat there. Did you have an opportunity, ma'am, to examine that wrapper and see, what type of wrapper it was?
I don't recall.
And then finally, 245. What do you see there?
This is just a photograph of the console area between the front passenger and driver's seat. It's a cell phone located.
Okay. And specifically, ma'am, there appears to be a straw wrapper in that center console area.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell by looking at that photograph where that straw wrapper is from?
The name Sonic is printed on the straw wrapper.
Thank you, ma'am. So for April 10th of 2014, after you had processed the truck and repackaged all the clothing that we've seen, did you have any other responsibilities there on April 10th of 2014?
No, sir.
What was the next day that you had kind of some follow-up investigation regarding this case?
Monday, April 14th.
April 14th?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell, how did you get involved in follow-up? Once you've got a case assigned to you, do you follow it along for the entirety of a case?
Yes, sir. So since I was the lead agent, any type of evidence that came to us that needed to be processed or further analysis of any scene, I would do that typically.
And on April 14th of 2014, were you alerted that some additional follow-up needed to be done at the Lake Glad residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what type of follow-up were you instructed to do on April 14th of 2014?
Based off of the examination at the medical examiner's office, we determined that we were missing shell casings. So we went back out to the scene to see if we could find any more shell casings.
And how many of you went back out to the scene that day?
Just me and my supervisor.
And at that point, when you went back out to the scene, did you use any special equipment that would help you find additional shell casings?
Yes, we did.
What did you take with you?
We metal detected.
And the photographs we've seen and the testimony you've given us about April 10th, all that was kind of during the early morning hours where it was still dark outside. On April 14th, what time did you go back out to the scene?
15:46, so that would be about 3:45.
3:45 in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
So I assume the sun was
Sun was-
out at that point. Walk us through a little bit about how you processed the scene there on April 14th.
The first thing we did was again take overall photographs just to depict what it looked like upon our arrival. We then began metal detecting, my supervisor did, of the rear yard, and we were able to locate what we believe to be a spent shell casing. That was indicated then with a marker number 70. We also examined inside the residence because we believed we were missing possibly a shell casing. So we examined the hallway as well as the children's room for a possible shell casing, where we were able to locate a shell casing in the carpet.
Good. If I may reapproach.
Yes.
Handing you what now has been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits number, we'll just do 193 to start with, and if you can identify 193.
193 is the exterior of the residence, of the screened-in porch and the vehicle parked in front of it.
Does it appear to be a fair and accurate depiction?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 193 for illustrative purposes at this time.
Any objection?
Okay.
It's allowed.
State's Exhibit 194, can you identify what that photograph depicts?
It's a photograph of the linen closet in the hallway with, I placed a trajectory rod in it. It's basically to show a path of a potential bullet.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but the photograph itself, does it fairly and accurately depict the shot rod placement for April 14th of 2014?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 194 for illustrative purposes.
Okay.
It's allowed.
And then State's Exhibits 195 through 199. You testified a moment ago about trying to find additional shell casings both inside and outside the residence. Do those photographs fairly and accurately depict your location of shell casings inside and outside of the residence?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce 195 through 199 for illustrative purposes.
No objection.
Allowed.
And permission to publish it.
Yes, sir.
And Agent Louder, if you need to stand up again, we'll start with the exterior photograph of the residence. 193 is I guess that just what the residence looks like during the daytime.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That car that you see there in the foreground, the Avenger, would appear to be the same vehicle that was there on the night in question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, there looks like in the background that there's still kind of over here on the left side that there's still some yellow crime scene tape up. Was the residence and the yard and the house, the area around the house, was it still a crime scene at that point?
Yes, sir. I believe that it was still considered a crime scene when we arrived.
Okay. So it hadn't been released back to the family or anyone at this point?
Not to my knowledge.
And do you recall, Agent Louder, if there was a Wake County Sheriff's deputy that would have been kind of standing guard over the property during this point as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there was someone there with the Wake County Sheriff's Department that would have been keeping people from going in and out
Yes, sir.
and disturbing the residence itself or the property surrounding.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next photograph, 194. You mentioned that that depicts kind of some shot rods that you used. Tell us a little bit about how you went about using these shot rods.
We call them a trajectory rod.
Oh, excuse me, trajectory rod.
So it's just to help depict the angle and location that a potential bullet traveled. So this little arrow, this little cone right here is placed into the hole. The rod goes into that cone, which then goes into the hole to help stabilize it. This is with the door open, just to give a perspective of what this side of the rod looked like as opposed to this side.
And is that the linen closet door that we've seen several photographs of?
Yes, sir.
That had I believe P1 was the bullet hole on one side and P2 was the bullet hole on the other side.
Yes, sir.
And then the bullet itself was item number 17 on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And looking at this shot rod, were you able to kind of tell from, or trajectory rod, excuse me, by placing this trajectory rod through that hole, could you tell what the angle of the bullet trajectory was?
It appears to me that it goes at a slight downward angle.
Thank you, ma'am. Oops. All right, let me rotate this photograph. This is State's Exhibit number 195. Is this how well, tell us about State's 195.
This is the children's room. There are some things that have been moved in here prior to the photographing, or when the photograph was taken. So if you recall from the earlier photos, I believe the dresser was against the wall, and there was some children's bedding on this particular bed.
Who moved the dresser?
I did.
Okay. And when did you move the dresser? Was it prior to this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And why did you move the dresser?
I was examining that room for potential shell casings.
And when you moved the dresser in this manner, what, if anything, did you find?
Right here, there's an envelope. What appeared to be a golden color spent shell casing was located there.
Okay, so let me zoom in, I guess, a little bit. Is that envelope number 69 where you found a spent shell casing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it was behind the dresser that we've seen earlier.
Yes.
Did you have to use a metal detector to find this shell casing?
No, not this one.
You just moved the dresser back and you found it.
We searched that room to begin with. Unfortunately, the carpet was very hard to see things. It was a orange, almost shag carpet, so it was longer, and a golden color shell casing kind of blended in with that carpet. So we had already searched that room one time, but figured we would do it another time as well, just to verify that we hadn't missed anything.
And State's Exhibit number 196, what does that appear to be, ma'am?
It's a golden color spent shell casing.
And is that the shell casing you found behind the dresser there in the kids' room?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit number 197, what do you see there?
This is an overall photograph of the rear yard. I placed an envelope here. Believe this was like a burn pile. And I believe Mr. Taylor's body was located over in this area.
Okay. So this is, I guess, on the left side of the screen here is where that metal piece that we've been describing earlier, that's where the metal piece is.
Yes, sir.
And then the burn pile, or the burn barrel beside the goalpost, that's here on the right side of the screen.
Yes, sir.
And then the shell casing that y'all found was here kind of in between the middle of those two.
Yes, sir.
And I should have asked, the shell casing that you found inside the house, were you able to read the imprint of what type of shell casing it was?
It was head stamped just like the other ones, Win 380 Auto.
And then the shell casing you found here in the backyard, and I'll go in for a closer view, that's State's Exhibit number 198. That's you see the item number 70 there, and then even a closer view in 199. What type of shell casing was that?
It was head stamped Win 380 Auto.
And Agent Louder, did you collect those two shell casings on April 14th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you label them as items number 69 and 70?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to approach you and hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibits number 228 and 229. If you'll take a look at 228 and 229. If you'll identify 228 for us by item number and then description.
Item 228 is my item number 69, one golden color Win 380 spent shell casing.
And if you'll open 28. 228, excuse me. And what is the contents of 228?
One golden color spent shell casing, head stamped Win 380 auto.
Yeah, those items appear to be the same or substantially same condition from when you collected them,
Yes, sir.
other than some markings performed by a later analyst.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask you to introduce 228,
Allowed.
and then if you'll take a look at 229. And again, a CCBI item number and its description.
It's my item number 70. It's one golden color spent shell casing Win, head stamped Win 380 auto.
And 229. What is the contents there?
It's one golden color spent shell casing, head stamped Win 380 auto.
And this would have been the shell casing that you found in this photograph that depicts item number 70.
Yes, sir.
Same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
I would ask to introduce 229. Contents.
Allowed.
By using the metal detector outside them, did you find any other shell casings in this area on April 14th?
No, sir.
And approximately how far was that shell casing, item number 70, from where Sylvester Taylor's body would have been found?
I don't know the exact location of where his body was found.
You weren't out there and processed that?
No, sir.
The metal piece, that large metal piece that we've described several times, about how far from that metal piece was it?
I believe it was just maybe.
I can back up.
Thank you.
There you go.
I want to say no more than 25 feet from it.
Okay. All right. On April 14th, while you were out there at the scene, any other items of evidence located at that point?
No, sir.
Now, after you went out to the Lake Glad for follow-up, or this area for follow-up, did you do any other follow-up processing on different items on April 14th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you do those before or after you went to Lake Glad?
I believe I'm sorry, it's the wrong date. I did them prior to that.
Okay. So on April 14th, what other processing did you do?
From Agent Fran, I had received 2 items of evidence. One was a magazine with several live rounds in it, as well as a firearm. I processed those items in the lab. I'm going to hand you what has previously been introduced to State's Exhibit 83, the gun itself, and then State's Exhibit number 84, which is, I believe, the magazine. State's Exhibit 83, does that appear to be the same gun that you processed? Yes, sir.
And what type of gun is that?
It's a high-point firearm.
And what caliber?
The model is CF380.
And then the magazine, does this appear to be State's Exhibit 84? Does it appear to be the same magazine that you processed?
Yes, sir.
And when you say you processed these 2 items, tell us a little bit about that. What type of processing did you do on the firearm and the magazine itself?
I didn't process this for any further the magazine or the firearms for any further analysis.
Okay.
I photographed them in the lab. I also photographed the firearm. For the firearm, I examined it for an area of possible blood, which I did find. So again, I used that test that we previously talked about, the phenolphthalein, the 3-part test to determine whether or not it was or was not blood. It did light or turn pink, so it was the swab of the suspected area of blood was collected. I then also swabbed the firearm for possible DNA.
And when you say you do those swabs, how do you do those swabs?
So when I swab for possible touch DNA, I take it very similarly as to how I collect for blood. I take a sterile swab, I place a drop of distilled water on it, and then I basically am like almost coloring the areas that I'm attempting to gain touch DNA off of.
And does that swabbing process, does it change the makeup of the gun or the DNA in any way?
No.
Even the blood?
No.
Okay. So you just take a sample swab, but there's still matter present on the gun itself
Yes, there could be.
that could be used for further testing
Absolutely.
down the line.
Yes.
Any other processing that you did on the gun itself, Agent Robert?
No.
Now, after processing the gun, were there other items that you processed there that day, or received and processed that day?
Not that particular day.
At some point, did you receive the defendant's plate?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when did you receive the defendant's clothing?
On April 15th, so the next day, at approximately 1200 hours, I responded to the Wake County Sheriff's Department Evidence Center to collect the suspect's clothing.
And once you received the suspect's clothing, what did you do with it?
I took them back to our CCBI facilities and processed them.
And when you say process the clothing, what type of processing are you doing in terms of, I guess, what are you looking for on the clothing itself?
On the suspect's clothing, I'm looking for areas of possible blood.
Right. And were you able to process the clothing there at the CCBI laboratory?
Yes, sir, I was.
Now, I'm going to walk you through several items that you processed there that day. We'll start with CCBI item number 73, State's Exhibit 230. Again, if you can identify the item and what the contents are.
Yes, sir. It's my item number 73. It's one black in color, right Timberland boot, size 7 medium.
And if you can open that bag and produce the contents. I'm going to hand you 230A, and if you can place that evidence sticker on 230A. And what is 230A at this point?
It's a black in color Timberland boot, size 7 medium.
And you said you did some swabs on that boot, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about where you swabbed that boot?
There was an area inside the shoe that I thought could be possible blood, so that was swabbed. There was also an area on the toe of the shoe that was swabbed. Both of these areas, after they were swabbed, were then tested with the phenolphthalein again. A positive reaction occurred on the one on the toe, and a negative one occurred on the one in the foot, or inside the shoe, I'm sorry. So the item of area, the suspected area on the toe was then collected.
And any changes or alterations to 230 or 230A?
No, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to introduce 230 and 230A.
No objection.
Allowed.
So Agent Louder, you collect swabs off of that boot, but again, in terms of you doing a swab on an area of presumptive blood, does it disturb that area of presumptive blood in any way?
No. So when you are doing a presumptive test or taking a swab, you're just trying to collect a sample of that area. So you want to be able to leave behind the majority of the stain, but you want to be able to collect enough to where you're going to have a reaction on your test.
So there would have possibly have been an area or a sample large enough for other analysts to come behind you and do their own testing to do, like I think you mentioned earlier, a confirmatory test.
Yes, sir.
All right, if you can repackage 230. I'll hand you 231.
States Exhibit 231 is my item number 74. It's one black and color left Timberland brand boot, size 7 medium.
And if you can open 231. I'll hand you 231A. What is 231A?
It is the black and color left Timberland boot, size 7 medium.
And again, does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you processed it?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I would ask to introduce 231 and 231A.
No objection.
Allowed.
And what type of processing did you do on 231A, this Timberland?
Again, I examined it for areas of possible blood.
Any possible blood detected on this boot?
Yes, there was another area located on the toe of the shoe.
And again, did you do a similar test in which you did the small sample size, but then leaving enough for other agents to come behind you if necessary?
Yes, sir.
You can repackage 231. Any other, besides the toe of the boot, any other areas of presumptive blood?
No, it was just the toe.
Thank you. 232.
232 is my item number 75. It's a pair of black and color Levi Strauss jeans, size 31 by 30.
If you'll open 232. Replace 232A on that item. And what does 232A appear to be?
A pair of black and color Levi Strauss jeans.
And if you'll examine 232A, or does it appear there's been some alterations made to those jeans since the last time you saw them?
Yes, sir.
And if you know, what kind of alterations have been made to the jeans?
There are areas of the jean that are missing.
Other than those areas of the jeans that are missing, any other changes or alterations?
No, sir.
At this time, I'd ask to introduce 232 and 232A.
No objection.
Allowed.
And those areas of the gene that are missing, Agent Louder, did you process them yourself for either blood or DNA?
There were various areas on the jeans that I processed for blood, but the cuttings are not a result of me.
And if you can just hold those genes up, I'll show the front and the back. And again, these would have been the genes that were taken from the defendant. Thank you. $233.
Item 233 is my item number 76. It's one black and color Nike brand hoodie, size medium.
And if you'll open 233. I'll hand you the 233A sticker. And what does 233A appear to be?
A black and color Nike brand hoodie.
And again, if you'll take a look at that, and does there appear to be any alterations from when you last saw it at the CCBI processing lab?
Yes, sir.
What type of alterations have been made?
Again, there are cuttings on it.
And those aren't your cuttings, but some cuttings that may have been made by a later analyst.
Yes, sir.
Other than those cuttings, does there appear to be any, is it in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes.
And when you, Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce 233 and 233A.
Allowed.
What type of processing did you yourself do on the hoodie?
I again processed for possible blood.
And did you find any areas of suspected blood?
Yes, there were several areas of suspected blood.
Where on the hoodie were those areas of suspected blood?
I found an area located on the back, on the left back sleeve, on the right back sleeve, on the right front sleeve. The center of the hoodie, the front left sleeve. Those were the main areas.
And I believe I forgot to ask you in regards to the jeans, did you do a presumptive test on the jeans for suspected area of blood?
Yes, I did.
And on the jeans, did you find any suspected areas of blood?
Yes, sir.
Where did you find blood on the jeans?
On the front right pant leg, as well as the front left pant leg, and also on the back right pant leg.
And so both the jeans and the hoodie were then sent off later at a later time for more confirmatory testing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can repackage 233. I'm going to hand you 235, and if you can identify what 235 is.
$235 is my item number 85. It is one golden color ring with transparent colored stones.
And where would this item have been taken from, ma'am, if you know?
This was collected from the suspect.
Okay, from the, well, in this case, the defendant, Mr. Holden.
Yes.
Okay. And it's a ring.
Yes.
If you'll open that ring. And what is the contents of 235 appear to be?
It's a golden color ring with transparent stones.
Appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected it?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 235 and its contents to the ring at this point.
Allowed.
And then 234, you can identify 234, which is your item 79.
It's it's item number 79, one pair of gray in color Hanes brand boxers, I believe, size large.
And who again were they collected from?
Nathan Holden.
And if you can open 234. I'm going to hand you 234A. And if you can place 234A on that item, and what is 234A?
It's the pair of gray and colored Hanes boxers, size large.
Same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 234 and 234A.
Allowed.
Any other clothing items? Let's try that. After you collected the clothing items from the defendant, or excuse me, after you processed the clothing items from the defendant, did you have any other responsibilities in regards to processing items that day, Agent Holden?
No, sir.
We'll break for the afternoon, Mr. Waller.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll recess until 9:30 tomorrow morning. Please recall the instructions. Don't talk about the case among yourselves or with anyone else. Don't form or express opinions about the outcome. No media or independent investigation into these matters, and no conversations or communications with parties, witnesses, or lawyers. Leave your notepads in your chairs. Thank you very much for your service. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30, deliberation room. Leave your notepads in your chairs, please.